Okay, I think we are almost there. Hold on. Takes a second. Yep, here we go. Um, okay. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Jeanette, also known as Ms.FitVegan, and I have a very, very special guest here. He is the author of many, many very important books, including Eat to Live, Eat for Life, Super Immunity, Fast Food Genocide. We have Dr. Joel Fuhrman. So please welcome him. And Dr. Fuhrman, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Nice to see
you. Thank you so much for being here. So I love your books and I have a lot of questions. The first topic that I'd love to get your opinion on and pick your brain on is the laws regarding ingredients. Okay, so I've read, and I want to know your thoughts on this. I've read that companies don't need to put all the ingredients into the foods, and there's some secret hidden ingredients in foods. Can you talk about like the laws regarding what's in our food that we're eating, and do they need to tell us exactly what we're eating?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm the right person to ask that question.
Okay.
We know that foods are doused with, 40 chemicals in the food process when the food is farmed, let's say. And those chemicals they use as pesticides and herbicides and fungicides are not put on food labels, but they're in the raw materials that food manufacturers and food, even produce has chemical residue on it. I mean, obviously the ideal thing is to eat natural foods that don't have labels and to eat organic whenever possible. That's what we're all striving for. And regenerative organic agriculture is the way to protect our earth and protect ourselves simultaneously. So, I mean, but no, I don't. I think that if you're adding an additive to a food in the manufacturing process, you have to put it on the label, as far as I know. But I don't know everything about that topic.
Yes, I thought so too, but then I read somewhere, and that's my first question because I really wanted to ask you because I really respect you and I love all your books and everything that you do. So the next question is, there's a lot of different ingredients in healthy food that isn't actually healthy. And so from your years and years of experience, can you please share with everyone some of the most unhealthy foods that are touted as healthy? Because, people are confused out there. They don't know exactly like what is healthy and what isn't. So what are some common foods that are supposedly healthy in mainstream society, but actually aren't?
Well, the main one is olive oil, because oil is very fattening. It's 120 calories. You see, when you get your fat from eating a nut or a seed, your body is absorbing the calories at about 1 or 2 calories a minute. And with the slow calories coming into the body can preferentially burn it for energy. And also the fibers inhibit the speed, not just the speed of the absorption, but the fibers pull some of those fat calories out into the toilet bowl. So all the calories don't even get absorbed. When you take, walnut oil instead of the walnut, or sesame oil instead of the sesame seed, or olive oil instead of the olive, then we biologically get all the calories rushing in within 3 to 5 minutes. And it's 120 calories a tablespoon. And the caloric rush then revs up fat storage, and it's stored as fat on the body. You don't burn it off for energy. And with 90% of our population being overweight, and I'm saying 90%, even though conventional authorities say 77%, I'm saying that's because they don't consider people with a BMI of 23 or more to be overweight, and I do. They consider the demarcation line between normal and overweight as being a BMI of 25. And all long-lived societies and all healthy people and all long-lived people have BMIs below 23, not below 25. So what I'm saying is that it's really 90% of the population is overweight, and there's no such thing as a healthy overweight person. Let's push that aside, because fat on the body accelerates aging, and fat on the body spews out pro-inflammatory compounds, and fat on the body accelerates risk of cancer. Therefore, I'm saying that olive oil is a food that accelerates a woman's risk of breast cancer. It accelerates the woman's risk of breast cancer because it keeps her overweight. She can't lose weight pouring oil on her food. So even though you asked me the question, we could think of 100 different foods, but I'm just thinking oil is so, because it's so much, people think it's a health food, and they're all overweight people pouring fattening oil on their food, you know. But then, like, what else? It could be, you know, I guess fish is the next thing. The idea that people are consuming all this seafood, particularly bivalves and shellfish. You know what a bivalve is? It's oysters, clams, scallops, and mussels are called bivalves, and they live on the bottom of the ocean. And with commercial agriculture and runoff of so much nitrogen to the waterways, you have more production of algae and more production of cyanobacteria that live on the algae, and our waterways close to the shorelines and in interior lakes are full of a compound called BMAA, which is a link to Parkinson's disease and dementia and ALS. There's clusters of ALS near lakes where people eat freshwater fish, and there's clusters of ALS near shorelines where people are eating bivalves. But you have like 50 times as much BMAA in bivalves and shellfish as you do in, let's say, ocean food, or wild ocean fish. And even though an oyster may be rich in omega-3 and it may be rich in zinc and it may be otherwise good for you if you were eating it 40,000 years ago, with all the dumping of plastics in the ocean and the dumping of chemicals, we now have some of the most toxic, most dangerous foods on the planet when people are eating small seafood. Even when you're a sardine, we used to think the big fish like tuna and shark and barracuda, and those were all full of toxic metals and they're predatory fish. But now the little fish have plastic, microplastic particles impregnated in their gut. And when you eat a little fish, you eat the guts with it. You don't strip the muscle off the bone and throw the guts away. You eat the guts in the little fish, and you're getting all this plastic in your body. So we're exposing ourselves to microplastic, which is carcinogenic too. So I'm saying the next most dangerous thing is probably seafood and so it's that people think of these things as health foods, you know?
Absolutely. And can we just say for the like free ranged, organically grown like fish, like the specialized fish that costs way more money in Whole Foods and stuff, is that the same? Is that still like containing plastic and mercury and all these things?
Yes. I mean, it's true that the farm-raised fish may have some more antibiotics and chemicals in them, but the natural organic fishes we're talking about are fish that live in nature. And off the coastal shelves of the United States and of Northern Europe, we have so much dumping of waste products that the fish have become contaminated with microplastic particles. And the shellfish and the bivalves are so dangerous, they should not be eaten at all. So yes, even the wild fish, over in the wild seafood. I mean, true, if you lived in Polynesia, in Tahiti, in those areas where there's less dumping, and you had a fish, you'd probably be a cleaner fish. But that's not what people are getting. They're getting commercial fish that are wild. It's not wild fish. It's commercial wild fish, and it's still, you know, people should not eat much fish or see it as a health food.
Thank you for clarifying, because I know that's the comment somebody's going to write. Well, I don't eat, fish fillet from McDonald's.
I eat, and the meat I eat is they're going to say, oh, I eat, grass-fed natural meat, as if that's any better. They're just brainwashed by, people selling them a concept that's wrong. Because whether you're eating meat that's commercially raised, or eating naturally raised or wild raised meat, it still has all those features that rev up the cancer-causing hormones and accelerate aging, and it's too much. In other words, what I'm saying right now is the high concentration of animal protein revs up growth hormones that makes, us can get excessively sized, but also allows cancer cells to replicate and grow. So it doesn't matter whether even the meats are naturally raised, they're still going to increase risk of cancer if used regularly in the diet.
Thank you so much. In your book, Fast Food Genocide, I remember reading a long time ago about how eating fast food was comparable or even more dangerous than smoking cigarettes. And I used to tell people this, from your book. I would say, eating this fast food, eating these animal products is really dangerous. It's like, you're smoking cigarettes. You can get cancer from this. And people didn't believe me. And even just yesterday, I told somebody this. She didn't believe me that you can get cancer from milk, that milk, contributes to cancer cells. Can you please talk a little bit about how eating fast food and animal products cause cancer cells in the body?
I guess the underlying theme here is what I'm saying and you're alluding to, is that we don't have to get breast cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer, that we have this unique opportunity in human history to live longer without the fear of these diseases. And we've ascertained the causes of heart attacks and strokes and dementia and common cancers. And we can live longer, healthier than ever before without fear. But people don't like the answer. They'd rather be dead or get cancer. And that's okay. At least we do the best and to give as much information as we can. But what we've been finding from the most dramatic findings in the last decade in the field of human nutrition has to do with our body's ability to regulate the occurrence of cancer. And that is that and heart attacks too, particularly by regulating the consumption of protein in the body. So protein is a major controller. And here's what we found in these studies. And I'm saying these studies, and I'm saying that studies done in 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, every year a major study comes out corroborating and documenting the correctness of the earlier studies. These studies all show the same thing. They're not like one study shows something and another study shows something different. The point is that in the past, meat eating in studies didn't show it caused that much cancer, because when people ate less meat, they didn't see cancer rates go down. And the reason that happened is because people ate less meat and they ate more chicken. They ate less meat, they ate more dairy and eggs. They ate less meat, they ate more junk food. They didn't eat less meat and eat more beans, nuts, and vegetables. They ate less meat and more chicken. It didn't change anything. But now these studies have looked at this issue differently. It's compared animal protein intake to plant protein intake. And when people reduce animal protein and increase plant protein, that's the major factor that modulates the occurrence of cancer. So it means we can modulate cancer by eating more animal protein and put it down by eating less, and we can modulate increase lifespan by eating more plant protein and reduce risk of cancer. Because plant protein means, it doesn't mean you're getting sugar and oil and junk food from plants and white flour pasta. It means you're eating foods that have a lot of protein in their plants, which are whole grains, vegetables, beans, and nuts and seeds. Those 4 foods. Those are the 4 plant foods that have a good amount of protein. As a matter of fact, a nutritarian diet, which is the name of diet I coined that I recommend, the portfolio of foods that I want people to eat that include, greens and beans and onions and mushrooms and berries and seeds and nuts, all these foods, that has a lot of protein in it, even more than a lot of people eating a standard diet with meat. There's more protein in the nutritarian diet because we didn't dilute the protein with so much oil and so much junk food and sugar. So we're getting about, 18 to 19 grams of protein compared to maybe 15 to 16 grams on a more meat-based diet because they're eating so much junk with the meat. Bottom line here is that the animal protein is a different animal than plant proteins, because animal protein, because it's so biologically complete, is the body turns very efficiently into growth hormones like insulin, like growth factor 1. IGF-1 is a growth hormone, and a higher amount of growth hormone in the body of IGF-1 promotes cancer cell replication. And we know that longer lifespan and lower rates of cancer are associated with lower levels of IGF-1. And eating plant proteins keep IGF-1 minimally adequate to maintain muscle mass with aging, but not excessively activated to then allow cancer cells to replicate. So it's the combination of a high exposure to phytochemicals with a low exposure to animal protein to keep IGF-1 that enables the body to not get cancer. And so we have this ability to do that. So animal products do not contain phytochemicals. It's colorful plants that contain the phytochemicals and antioxidants that prevents toxins and carcinogens from damaging the DNA. And it's the plant proteins that give us adequate but not excessive high biological protein that's going to excite cancer replication. The only thing I left out too much is sugar and white flour, which is really a drug. It's not really a food, because a high glycemic effect of eating sugar and white flour also can promote, heart attack and cancer as well.
So thank you. That makes a lot of sense. And thanks for clarifying. Back to the animal protein, I really want to just put this to rest. Is there any blood type or anyone from any continent that needs to consume animal protein to be healthy and happy and live a long life?
Um,
Like when I say any, oh, I'm sorry. When I say any content, I mean like, me, I'm here in Miami, but my family's from Italy. So like, is it because I'm from Italy and my family ate a lot of cheese that I need to continue eating cheese? This is my question.
no, there's nothing like that, but there are people with digestive impairments and who as they age, with maybe they've eaten a diet so poor their whole life that they're going to get frail and wasted with aging, and maybe they need a little extra animal protein to keep their protein levels high enough. So there is an occasional person who might benefit from a little bit of either concentrated protein in the form of hemp seeds or Mediterranean pine nuts, or pea protein or pumpkin protein, a concentrated plant protein, or using some animal products in a smaller amount that may help this person because they're becoming because their digestion is impaired. So not for normal people, but there are some occasionally abnormal people where we want to pump up the protein a little bit, but that's like an abnormal case.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for answering all my questions. This is very exciting for me because it's rare. You can have, you can ask someone like you anything. So the next question I have personally is, I'm wondering, I know your views on salt. Okay. And I would love if you can share with everyone, is there any salt that is healthy? Like, for example, a lot of people in this healthy vegan movement, they do Himalayan pink salt. Is that a salt that doesn't, affect your health in the way that normal salt does? What do you recommend?
Absolutely not. It's one of the biggest scams in the world that people think that some special salts are not going to damage you, because whether they have impurities or whether they have some minerals in it, it doesn't make the sodium, a high sodium content, less damaging. Don't forget, you're getting all your minerals, meaning fruits, from eating vegetables and beans and nuts. You don't need salt to get your minerals. The mineral content of Himalayan salt or Celtic salt or salt from the back of the moon or the Rock of Gibraltar, it doesn't matter. The mineral content is insignificant compared to what you get in a few bites of food anyway. Yet the high level of sodium that takes its toll on the body, and our lifetime exposure to sodium causes weakening of the endothelial lining of blood vessels and causes microvascular hemorrhaging. And over time, many decades of use, you've weakened and aged your tissues. So there's no consumption of salt that is not going to cumulatively shorten your life.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean that, let's say you're just eating the sodium in natural foods, like just eating the sodium in vegetables and beans and nuts and fruits, and you're getting about 400 to 500 milligrams of sodium a day from your 1,500 calorie diet, let's say, right? Now, if you had a piece of Ezekiel bread or some tomato sauce or mustard that had 100 to 200 milligrams of sodium in it, that's not going to dramatically affect your health, because you're still having under 800 milligrams of sodium for the day, or under 1,000 milligrams. It's the people that are eating 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, because a teaspoon of salt has 2,200 milligrams of sodium. So a half a teaspoon is over 1,000. So even a quarter teaspoon of salt is way too much. But if you had something with a little touch of sodium, like 100 milligrams or under 200, that's not going to, and that was all you did that whole day, that's not going to be dangerous, because it's too low to have a cumulative negative effect.
Wow. Okay. So you guys heard that. Get your sodium from vegetables, please. And so what is the alternative in the beginning for people, because their taste buds have been corrupted and they really don't taste the salt in vegetables? So what is the healthiest?
That's right. The salt intake has deadened their taste buds. They don't even taste vegetables have flavor. They don't even taste the vanilla flavor in a cashew nut. Avocados don't even taste good to them. They don't have the ability to enjoy food because they've deadened their taste buds with too much sweet and too much salt and too much spice. Their taste buds are so deadened. But over a period of months, their taste buds come back. But the answer is roasted garlic. Really helps. And putting lemon and using vinegars, flavored vinegars, a lot of things we do to make food have great flavor. You don't need to add salt.
Okay, roasted garlic. Yes. Okay. And now, so how fast do taste buds change? I read every 7 days, but you said a few months, maybe, or
Yeah,
longer, shorter.
I used to think that people's, it does change in a few months, but when I did a survey of 750 people, because I thought it was just like 2 or 3 months, and I asked them, when did you start to like the nutritarian diet as much or better than your old diet? Almost everybody answered 5 to 6 months. I was shocked in the study because I thought people were going to say 2 to 3 months, but they almost all said 5 to 6 months. So maybe it doesn't mean that your taste buds aren't improving, but to actually get to that really ability to have that strong taste muscle to enjoy just natural flavors better, it may take longer.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. This leads me to my next topic, which is food addiction. I help women to break their food addiction to the animal products and the processed foods. What is some advice that you give to somebody watching who has a food addiction? They are eating things they know is not healthy. They don't want to eat it anymore, but they can't stop. They physically can't seem to stop themselves. What is like the first few steps that you recommend to your clients?
Enforced abstinence. If you want to quit smoking, you have to get it completely out. If you're an alcoholic, it doesn't help to go out on the weekends and drink. Because when you imbibe in the addictive substance, it lights the fire under your desire. It keeps lighting up that fire of wanting it more. It's staying away from those addictive substances long term for a long enough period of time to make you no longer desire them. I have a retreat here in San Diego where food addicts come and stay here for 2 to 3 months because it takes that long for them to be away from their addictive triggers. But people don't have to come here to lose weight and get healthy. They can do it at home. But they have to set up their life so they're not, how could I say, they're not baby stepping their way to healthy eating with a foot in both worlds. They're going to eat healthy, but they're still going to have some of these things they love. Well, every time you have those, you use a little bit of the self-destructive food, it's going to set you back to wanting it more. And it set you back into being a full-fledged food addict again. You're not moving in the direction of getting rid of your addictions until you're off the thing for a long enough period of time. You're rid of your addictions better and better and better for every day and week and month you stay away from it. And the major, substance of addiction is SOS, sugar, salt, and oil. It fuels overeating behavior and addictions. And people have to stay away from sugar, salt, and oil long term and learn how to cook this way, learn how to prepare food this way.
Yes.
So, I used to think, I used to give people a way they can move into this more gradually. And for some people, that maybe they'll still be the right way. But there's so many people that it screws them up because they're trying to cut back on the foods they shouldn't be eating. And the cutting back just makes them want the food more. And they keep desiring that food and they keep cutting back until they cut it out completely and not cut it back. They don't they don't lose their desire for eating those things.
So true. Yeah, that is such good advice. Because I remember when I tried to have a little square of chocolate, because I was on a diet and
Yeah.
all I could think about was having more chocolate. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
And you're right. Yeah. Getting it out of my life gets out of my bloodstream. I don't want it. And so, people don't think that food, this is crazy, but some people don't think food addiction is like as strong as other addictions. Can you, as a doctor, can you please speak upon the true essence of a food addiction? Is it as addicting? Is food as addicting as drugs, as alcohol, as other substances?
Well, certainly there's a continuum of addictive properties that you get with addictive substances. But the hallmark of food addiction, or the hallmark of addiction in general, is that when you stop the offensive substance, you start to feel worse and go through withdrawal symptoms. So a person moving from their unhealthy way of eating to a healthy way of eating is going to start to feel fatigued and shaky, maybe headaches. They're not going to feel maybe more agitated. That's one. They're not going to feel great. The other type of behavior we're talking here is lighting up the centers in the brain the same areas of the brain that are lit by opiates, and you become dopamine insensitive from the opiate exposure, and you become dopamine insensitive, and other neuropeptides are distorted unnaturally from the caloric rush, because you can't get that many calories into the bloodstream at one time when you're eating natural foods. You have to eat, animal fats and oils and sweets and processed foods to flood all those calories into the blood high enough so the brain gets a hit. And the question is, why would people consume things that are not in their own best interest, that are self-destructive, right? Why do they consume? Why do they smoke? They know smoking's not good for them. Why are they smoking? They know drinking alcohol causes cancer. Why are they drinking alcohol? They know that eating croissants and burgers and pizza and bacon is bad for them. Why are they doing that? Whoever said bacon's making you live longer? I mean, we know these things are unhealthy, but people are blocked out. It's called cognitive dissonance. They're blocked out this idea. The primitive brain doesn't want to think about the self-destructive behavior, because the addictive desires of the primitive brain supersedes the cerebral or intelligent brain. So you're no longer in control of your behavior. You're not using your best brain, your most intelligent self, to say, oh, why am I eating this? Is this going to do me some long-term good? Is this good for my future health, or is this going to hurt my future health? But instead of making those decisions on everything you eat, oh, I should eat this because it tastes good and it's good for me. But no, I should eat this instead because it's going to take some years off my life, damage my brain cells, create diabetes, and I love it. But you wouldn't make that decision not in your own best interest unless you were addicted to it. Yeah, it's food addiction. That's this most, and even though the addictive drive to consume bad food is not as powerful as the addictive drive to consume heroin and cocaine, it still causes more death, because there's many more people that have this milder form of addiction than the fewer people that have the stronger form of addiction. So even though those things can cause death, most of us are dying from the food addiction, which is more ubiquitous, even though it may be a little milder in intensity.
Yeah. So then we can call a food addiction the most serious addiction on earth, because more people are dying of a food addiction than any other addiction. Correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Yes. So, okay.
And let's make this clear. There's no such thing as a healthy overweight person, right? All overweight people are aging faster and increasing their risk of cancer. So why are people consuming more calories than they need? Why can't they eat the right amount of calories like every other animal in nature? Where do you see, obese, hyenas and and squirrels and deer and running around the jungles and woods? You don't. They all weigh the same weight. All the deer live about the same age and are about the same weight when they're full grown, and because they're eating natural foods. And primitive humans didn't have huge weights and difference in weights either. This is a dangerous and completely unnatural food environment we're in. And now we have unnatural diseases and unnatural bodies due to unnatural foods. We have to get back to eating natural foods that are not created by humans.
So as a species, do you think we have a species-specific diet, all of us? And what would you say that consists of exactly?
I do. I think that because we are so genetically similar to the other primates, because of our development throughout history, particularly the primate development, that we became, and our DNA and our aging became vegetable dependent. We are a vegetable dependent animal, meaning that we have to eat a lot of plant foods, roughage and plants, and that the number one source of, major source of calories of all primates is green vegetables and leaves. And we are a green vegetable dependent animal. And I say that because a lot of mitochondria function, cell function, DNA function, and the structure of our antioxidant response element and the NRF2 transcription proteins are fueled by these compounds in green vegetables. The nitric oxide system is fueled by our compounds in green vegetables. We can't manifest the healthiest version of ourselves without exposure to vegetables. So yeah, the ideal diet for humans is a plant-based diet with lots of vegetables and fruits and beans and nuts and other foods. But we can't be healthy on an animal product-based diet like a lion or a tiger can. We just don't have that structure. We can survive to meet middle ages, but then we die young of diseases that didn't have to happen. And we know now from a lot of the studies on keto diets, for example, we're seeing keto diets have double the risk of cardiovascular death at the same age compared to people on a standard diet, not even compared to people on a nutritarian diet. But we're also seeing women who get pregnant on keto diets have a 90% increased risk of birth defects. And the baby, the pregnant.
Did you say 90? 90?
90. If they stop the keto diet a year before they get pregnant, the risk of birth defects still goes up by 30%. But here, the fetus is a Geiger counter for you drink alcohol. It doesn't really cause cancer, you don't think. But if you give it to the baby, it causes some defect really young. It's a Geiger counter to show how bad alcohol is for you in general. Just because it takes decades to get the damage, it's still causing damage. But the baby gets damaged right away from it, so we can see the dangerous effects. But so we're definitely seeing our population has embraced a lot of dangerous dieting, stupid dieting, just because they're addicted to meat, that they want to come up with some rationalization so they can control their weight and not by cutting out back on carbohydrates, so they can still eat all the meat they want. It's just still fueling their addictions with irrational behavior.
Yes. Now I have a question from my audience. So I have a woman who has been on a mostly plant-based diet for the last 7 years, but she still craves meat. She finds herself still craving like the things that she grew up with. Okay. So I guess the chicken and the steak and different things. Will it ever go away? Do you think that she has like parasites perhaps? What can she do to get rid of the cravings?
Well, two things. Number one, a craving does not mean a nutritional or biological need for something. It doesn't mean you're craving meat because you're low in iron or low in zinc or there's some extra protein you need. Cravings are perverted. They're not normal, and they don't exist because you need some nutrient in the food. That's not true. Cravings are mostly the result of emotional, you could not trauma, but emotional stress and emotional trauma that people are looking to use drugs to relieve life's pain. And their drug of choice is food and the memories they had of food and these kind of comfort foods from their childhood. It's an emotional issue, not a biological issue. So I don't know what this person is eating. I don't know if their omega-3 index is adequate, if they're eating healthy enough, but if they're eating enough volume, fibers, nuts, fat in their diet, eating nuts and seeds. I don't know what they're doing wrong. But they may be doing everything right and still have a craving that's based on some emotional need that they think, but it's not based on the need for meat, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you so much. I love what you just said. People that have a food addiction, well, they're using food to relieve life's pain. They're using food for something other than fuel. Right. And so that needs to change. And obviously it's quite hard. So you said abstinence. Which is the number one thing. Is there anything else that you'd recommend to someone after that? Going to your retreat center, which by the way, I'll leave the link below, guys. Okay. So that would be an amazing way to for sure break your food addiction. Is there anything else that you can think of that can help people?
Yes. Eating a giant salad for lunch every day. And we eat a salad with a bowl of vegetable bean soup and some fruit. So it's salad, vegetable bean soup, and fruit, because the combination of the greens and the vegetables, raw and cooked, mixed with the beans and the mushrooms, with the salad dressing made of nuts and seeds, because you had some nuts, some beans, some mushrooms, some cooked greens, some raw greens, that combination slows gastric emptying and makes you feel satisfied with fewer calories. So now you only need 400 calories to feel satisfied, not 800 to feel satisfied. And it stays with you for hours. So by mixing a little bit, let's say my dinner might be, raw vegetables with a hummus dip or a guacamole dip, maybe some woked broccoli, cabbage, mushrooms, onions, water chestnuts, snow pea pods with a Thai curry sauce and a mango and a a cherry vanilla ice cream made with banana and frozen cherries and a little real vanilla bean powder and a splash of plant milk in there whipped up or something, and a few macadamia nuts. The combination of when you combine the beans and nuts and vegetables in the same meal, it slows gastric emptying. It makes for a more satiation, and people are now satisfied with fewer calories. So yeah, it's when you eat right, it's not like it's going to suddenly make you extra calories, not interfere with weight loss. You still can overeat if you eat right. But when you're not eating right, it makes it almost impossible not to overeat because your desire for extra calories is too strong. But when you're eating right, it takes away your desire for extra calories. So then you can recreationally overeat, but you don't have to because you're not driven to overeat. The chance of being successful is improved the more people improve the quality of their diet.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was good. So guys, I have Dr. Fuhrman here only for about 10 more minutes. So if you have questions, I know we have some questions in the chat, but if you have questions, leave them here right now and I'll make sure to get to them. Okay, so Shireen, thank you for being here. They asked, what are your thoughts on the raw vegan diet?
My thoughts are, and don't forget, I've been doing this for almost 40 years. And back when the American Natural Hygiene Society had a lot of people on raw vegan diets, I found that people, when they eat raw, they wound up doing too much fruit, avocado, and nuts, and not enough vegetables and beans. And because of that, it lowered the protein bioavailability as they age and their absorption of zinc. And so that it makes it so they had more immune suppression with aging. So I think that it's not the ideal way to eat a plant-based diet. I think it's ideally better to use some vegetables, cooked vegetables with cooked beans, because it makes it easier to eat more vegetables and beans and less fruit. Because the fruit-based diet leads for more immune system dysfunction, especially in later life. Like the middle-aged person in their 30s and 40s can digest fruit and protein so efficiently that they can still perform at a high level when the diet is almost all fruit. But as they get to be 80 or 90 years old, they start to get, more hair falling out, more muscle frailty. Their nails are more likely to get fungal infections, and they're at increased risk of infection like pneumonia or skin. So that's my experience been, that the fruit diet too much fruit and all raw is not the ideal way to be a vegan. It's better to get the increased protein and the increased calories by adding, because the problem with raw vegetables is you're satisfied with so little that you don't want to eat enough vegetables. If you ate a little cooked broccoli or cooked vegetable in there, it'll get you to eat more vegetables. So I'm encouraging people that it gets a little more vegetables and beans and nuts and a little less fruit, because the raw vegetables will push you the raw diet will push you to a little more fruit, too much fruit and nuts, and not enough vegetable and beans, which may not be ideal for the longest and most vitality in your later years, as we push the envelope of human longevity to live between 97 and 107 years old.
Wow. I want to ask a follow-up question on, you said that our closest primates eat a primarily green leafy vegetable diet. And I'm wondering, why do you think that some long-term raw vegans like a Doug Graham or Tony Wright or, some of these long-term raw vegans, they say that our closest primates eat a mostly fruit-based diet.
Yeah.
Can you clarify
I'm
this?
not saying that primates all eat predominantly green vegetables. I'm saying all the primates eat a lot of green vegetables. They don't just eat fruit. So some do predominant fruit-based diet. That's true.
Okay.
Now, I'm giving it Doug Graham diet as a perfect example. I'm saying people following that program might be doing okay when they're young, but when they get older, they're going to be increased risk of infection and problems. And that's what we see all the time. I've had many people who get into trouble with that as they age.
Wow.
And we expect that to happen to people like Doug Graham.
Wow.
He'll do okay until he gets until he gets to be like 80 years old or 85 years old, then he'll age very fast if he doesn't make a change, doesn't.
Wow. I think this might be my last question. So before I ask, I want to say thank you very much, everyone, for watching. And if you'd like to connect with Dr. Fuhrman, I will leave all his links below. He has a brand new book, Eat for Life. And he has many, many books, very important books that you will not regret. You can pick any one of his books and it'll change your life. So I'll leave all the links below to his website, is his retreat. And so my last question is, if I could put headphones on every single person in the world, and what you say will be translated in every country to every language, what is a message that you'd love to share with the world right now?
That nutritional science has made sufficient advances that we can win the war on cancer, wiping out the vast majority of cancers, wipe out heart attacks and strokes. We have science to wipe out dementia. And when we eat a diet that is so disease protective, it could simultaneously have a major effect in aiding climate change and global warming simultaneously. So we can protect the natural world better and protect ourselves better by adopting a program that's designed to maximize longevity in the human species. And we have a tremendous amount of corroborating information today. So this information is not controversial anymore. And I have more than 2,000 references from scientific studies in the recent book you mentioned, the Eat for Life book, to show people that it's not my opinion. It's the opinion of all the nutritional scientists around the world today, publishing thousands of studies every month. And I've reviewed more than 30,000 studies on this issue. So we have more definitive evidence that we don't have to have these diseases. We can save millions of lives. And, and an undue amount of needless, tragic suffering. And of course, that the same, you can say, dietary portfolio that slows aging, enables us to live longer, is therapeutically effective to reverse disease. So people can get rid of their diabetes, reverse their high blood pressure, get rid of their chest pains and heart disease, have their psoriasis go away, get rid of their headaches, have their lupus get better from lupus, the kidney get better from lupus, and have their rheumatoid arthritis pain resolve. I have 35 or more years of using nutritional excellence as a therapeutic intervention on enabling people to recover their health. And as a tool, it's so incredibly effective because they have the power to get people back to good health again.
Wow. Yes, that is powerful. And can you just share with us, please, how old you are?
I'm going to be 70 in December. So I'm almost 70 years old.
Amazing. And how long have you been on a plant exclusive diet?
Well, I've been eating mostly plants probably since I'm age 10, but you could say probably, mostly plant exclusive, like you hardly ever eat animal products, probably from age 20 on. You know what I mean?
Wow. Wow.
But the point is, we want to maintain our mental power, our physical ability, our athletic ability, our ability to enjoy life into our later years. That's the whole point.
Yes. Thank you so, so much, Dr. Fuhrman. I really appreciate you. I'll put all links below, and I appreciate everyone for watching. Do me a favor, give this a thumbs up and share this with somebody who needs it, somebody who might not see this, who needs help, who needs to break their food addiction, and maybe go to Dr. Fuhrman's retreat center. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you, Dr. Fuhrman, for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. That was a really great interview. Thank you.